Hopefully this is a post people find interesting. Hopefully this question is something people will engage with, and hopefully this isn't too weird. I don't know. I wanted to kind of share what I picked up from Steam and just kind of point you towards certain games, because a lot of the games I picked up I have actually already played before, and I'm rebuying them, and I just kind of wanted to talk about Steam games in the summer sale more. I don't know. I've been needing to do more daily questions. I've been getting kind of behind on that, so might as well do this one because it's weird and it's on my mind. What did I pick up? Well, let me pull up the list. This is the professionalness you tune in for these for. Freddi Fish Complete Pack. I'll go through the games in that collection first. I'll just go through them all the games first, and then I'll kind of break it down. Freddi Fish Complete Pack, Outlaw and a Handful of Missions, Afterlife, Sam and Max Hit the Road, Pajama Sam Complete Pack, Spy Fox Complete Pack, Jumpman, RollerCoaster Tycoon Deluxe, Just Cause 2, Putt-Putt Travels Through Time, or Oregon, like organs inside your body, Oregon Trail Director's Cut, Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth, Day of Defeat Source. Starting off with Freddi Fish Complete Pack, the Humongous Entertainment games are on sale for real cheap. If you don't know what Humongous Entertainment is, well, they released a lot of children's point-and-click adventure games in the 90s, and they are critically acclaimed for more than just their educational purposes, but for being genuinely enjoyable games. And I still enjoy them today. I have a lot of the ones, most of what I have from my childhood, I still have, and even though I have a lot of nostalgia for these games, I still go back and play them and really enjoy them. But I wanted to have them on Steam, and this summer sale is my perfect chance to, because basically all the games are anywhere from 50 to 60 or 70% off. So the Freddi Fish Complete Pack includes the first Freddi Fish game. Man, I love the, The Case and the Missing Kelp Seeds. It's also available on Wii. That version, depending on the controls, or if you're more prone to consoles, that would be perfectly fine. The other two Humongous Entertainment games that are available on Wii, by the way, are Pajama Sam, No Need to Hide When It's Dark Outside, and Spy Fox Dry Cereal. So those two, and Freddi Fish and the Case of the Missing Kelp Seeds, are the only three games that are included, Humongous Entertainment games that are available on the Wii, as far as I know. And there's two things interesting about that. One is that they didn't have the legal rights, as far as I know, to use ScumVM, which is the emulator that is used on those console versions, and because of that, the company that was porting them actually got sued. So that's crazy. And the next thing is just a side note, those three games that are available are the first games of each of the respective biggest series from Humongous Entertainment, basically. Freddi Fish and the Case of the Missing Kelp Seeds is the first game in the Freddi Fish series. Pajama Sam, No Need to Hide When It's Dark Outside is the first game in the Pajama Sam series, and Spy Fox Dry Cereal is the first game in the Spy Fox series. So those are a great place to start on the Wii. They're available for quite cheap, so pick those up on that console if you're actually looking for a family-friendly point and click, but that's still enjoyable, right? Just because it's, for kids doesn't mean it has to be played by only kids. It's in a similar vein to something like, Sam and Max Hit the Road, or a LucasArts game, and it's simpler than those games, don't get me wrong, but it's in that similar vein in the sense that it came out around the same time. It has, old PC graphics, and I don't know, you can look at gameplay yourself, but it's more than just a kid's game, let me just put it that way. The second game is great as well. The third game I definitely recommend. It's set in a tropical environment, so that's kind of a change of pace. All of these games follow sentient fish underwater, basically. The fourth game is Wild Western themed, and it's one of the ones I probably played the most as a kid. One of the Humongous Entertainment games I probably played the most as a kid, and what's interesting is as the games go on, they actually get kind of more complex. So they grow with you. The earlier games are, in terms of levels of difficulty, they're very easy to just easy, I'd say. There are a few things that, especially first time going through, I'd imagine you might get a little confused on, but mostly the early games are really, really simple. But once you get to 4 and 5 in Freddi Fish, it gets to kind of like a more normal difficulty of a point and click. Not like super hard, you know, we're not talking Sierra level at all, but there are, and it's still a kid's game ultimately, but there are elements that I'd imagine will trip you up the first time if you've never played it before, unless you're really, you know, prone to point and clicks. It's not super cryptic, but just enough, and especially the 5th game there. And there's also side games as well. I really recommend Freddi Fish and Luther's Maze Madness. Freddi Fish and Luther's Maze Madness is a puzzle game, puzzle Pac-Man style game, and it's available for only $2. And I'd actually really recommend it. And it's kind of weird, but hear me out. It's just kind of a, you could say it's a Pac-Man clone, but it's more than that. It's more than just nostalgia that I have for it also. It has a lot of puzzle elements, and kind of you have to go through the maze and pick up certain items, as far as I remember, and know to basically overcome certain obstacles in the maze. So you're more than just kind of going and collecting all the dots. To do all that, you have to use certain aspects of the environment to basically you know, gain access to certain parts of the maze. And there's also an amazing level editor in the game, which basically means you have endless possibilities, and it legitimately gets hard once you get up to, you know, a certain point. So you know, if you're okay with kind of a slow start, if you're okay with you know, the game being kind of, you know, very child friendly, and you're not interested in point and click, still look into checking that out, I'd say. It's, you know, it's on sale for cheap. It has a lot of, you know, kind of 90s PC vibes, and I think it's really cool and fun. So yeah, Luther's Water Worries was one of the Humongous Entertainment games I actually don't remember ever playing, so that'll be interesting, and that's it from that list. Next up is Outlaws and a Handful of Missions. Outlaws is that LucasArts Western-style game. Wanted to pick it up for quite a while, finally did. Handful of Missions is the expansion pack, or extra levels as far as I know, and you know, another LucasArts title along with Afterlife. Afterlife is a weird and kind of somewhat esoteric simulation game that's on sale for quite cheap, and once again done by LucasArts. If you're interested in simulation games, especially from that era, I think it'd be worth checking out or looking into. Haven't played it yet, but it gets good reviews from the people that have actually played it. And basically, you control and simulate heaven and hell, and more than just controlling and building heaven and hell like you would in a game like SimCity. The way you build heaven and hell and the structures that you create will affect like where souls go, and you're basically trying to, the souls are like your population, and you have like in SimCity, and you're trying to like gain as many souls for both realms as possible, and each realm affects each other differently as far as I know. So it's kind of a strategy game mixed with a simulation game, because there's a kind of like a soul management as far as I know. So definitely look into that if you're into simulation games. Sam and Max Hit the Road, I referenced that. You know, if I was getting all these point and click games, I might as well kind of get the step up in terms of difficulty, and a similar style game, Sam and Max Hit the Road, so I picked it up. Haven't played it, and excited to. Pajama Sam the Complete Pack is filled with Pajama Sam 1, which is No Need to Hide When It's Dark Outside. It's my favorite in the Pajama Sam series. I have a ton of nostalgia for it. And the icon, you know, even the Pajama Kappa icon is from that game. A lot of fun, and it's probably the Humongous Entertainment game I recommend playing the most, because I enjoy it the most, and I have probably the most nostalgia for it, but I'm a little biased, don't get me wrong. Pajama Sam Games to Play on Any Day is basically a... came in the pack, so I got it. Basically like mini game compilation, but it's filled with like children's mini games, tic-tac-toe and all sorts of stuff. Like a game that looks almost like Sorry. Where's the online multiplayer? I want to play this with people. Play like a kid's version of Sorry. No, that would be cool. But honestly, no. I guarantee you, that has no online multiplayer. Never played it, but looks cool. Pajama Sam Sock Works. I'm pretty sure I rented this from the library as a kid. I have so much nostalgia for these games. It's like dripping from my pores. I would some of these games that I never was able to have as a kid, because all of these I inherited from my sister, because she grew up in this era. I grew up a few years after that, you know, kind of the 90s era. So I wasn't around when these were basically being sold in stores for the most part, so the only access I had to games that weren't that I didn't own, which I own most of them, but of the ones that I did own, I had to just play at libraries or do whatever I can to get a hold of them. And I couldn't buy things online as a kid, so really it was the library or trying to find them online. And I remember downloading versions of them and actually giving my grandmother's computer a virus because I was trying to download the game illegally. And that was before I knew anything about torrenting or anything like that. When I was real little, Pajama Sam Lost and Found is a kind of arcade game compilation, simple arcade games as far as I know, and this I remember playing as well, I think, so I'm guessing it was through the library. I'm not 100% sure. Pajama Sam 2 is Thunder and Lightning Aren't So Frightening. Not as good as the first game, but still really enjoyable, and has, once again, that same charm that those Freddi Fish games have. They're easily accessible. Sure, they're easy, but I'd say Pajama Sam 2 is, and 1 and 2 are a step up in terms of difficulty from the early Freddi Fish games, but I still think the late Freddi Fish games, Freddi Fish 4 and 5, are probably close to the highest in terms of difficulty, probably next to maybe Spy Fox. The Spy Fox games probably about equal in terms of difficulty. So if you play one of these early titles, and because they're real cheap, you should try them. Try at least 1 or 2. Come on. If you try at least 1 or 2, and some of them are too easy, then maybe shoot for one of the Spy Fox games or Freddi Fish 4 or 5. Those, like I said, are probably the most difficult of these. None of them are difficult, but those ones kind of can really stump you in certain spots here and there, I'd say. Maybe I'm just dumb. Who knows? Pajama Sam, You Are What You Eat From Your Head to Your Feet. I love these titles. I have a screenshot from this game as my wallpaper. The artistry is fantastic. I love the world, but I don't know if the puzzles actually match up to 1 and 2. I don't know, that's just me. I've always debated, even when I was little, which one is my favorite. I'm like, Pajama Sam 1's probably my favorite, but then I'm like, well, is 3 better than 2? 2 has better puzzles, 3 I like the world better. I think 3 I like better just because the world is so great, because the characters are so endearing, but that's just me. Pajama Sam 4, Life is Rough When You Lost Your Stuff. This is what I recommend playing if you've played every other Humongous Entertainment game, because it's one of the worst I've played. Not the worst, and still enjoyable, but definitely a step down. It was made by different people. The voice actor of Sam, Pajama Sam, changed, and it was a woman's voice instead of a man's voice, which is kind of odd. And you can tell the Pajama Sam's past voice actor, I'm pretty sure was a man, or child, I should say, male, female, I sound like a Redditor, but even if she wasn't, you really couldn't tell in the past games. It sounded like a little boy, but in Pajama Sam 4 it sounds like a woman, and it's a little weird because I'm like, my childhood. Next up we have, let me go back to the list here, the Spy Fox Complete Pack. I gotta rush through these. Spy Fox Dry Cereal I had on the Wii. That's the only way I was able to play it. And Spy Fox Dry Cereal, once again, just like the other Spy Fox games, probably the most difficult of the Humongous Entertainment games. Not difficult, but if you're looking for one with a little more challenge, go for something like that. Pajama Sam Dry Cereal is hilarious. The theme of the game is that there's an evil. It's spy themed. It's basically like James Bond, but you play as an animated fox. And in this game specifically, you're in Greece. Crete? No, I think you're on Crete, the island of Crete. You have to solve puzzles and mysteries in order to stop an evil goat from stealing the world's milk supplies. Yes, there's innuendos throughout. There's a lot of funny jokes that would go over kids' heads, and this game is one of the ones that really proves that these games are beyond just children's games, because again, jokes go over people's heads. My mom enjoys playing these games because they're that simple, but the Spy Fox games, especially Dry Cereal specifically, she couldn't get past because of certain puzzles were too difficult. I'm not going to say it's that difficult, but yeah, it'll stump you here and there. So very enjoyable game. I recommend that for sure. Spy Fox 2 Some Assembly are required. I couldn't actually beat very often as a kid. I think I finally beat it once or twice, but it was very hard for me to beat as a kid. I've beaten it since multiple times, and very enjoyable sequel. Not as enjoyable because I think I don't like the location as much, but everything else is there. It has multiple endings. I don't think Dry Cereal does, if I remember correctly, but Spy Fox 2 actually has multiple endings, which is great. And on top of that, a lot of these games have some, not all of them, but some of them have multiple choices that you can make, and depending on the choices you make, it changes, or depending on the time you play it, in terms of randomly. Sometimes there's RNG that changes where the puzzles are or where certain items are or things of that nature, and then other times it has to do with the choices you make. So that's really cool as well and adds replayability to these games. They're otherwise pretty short, you know, anywhere from an hour for some of these all the way up to maybe 3 hours at max. And then Spy Fox 3, Operation Ozone. I've never played before. I'm so excited to play because I've always wanted to as a kid. Never got a hold of it. I got to play a demo. These games originally came with demos back in the day, and I would play these demos non-stop, and this one included. I was always like, oh, Spy Fox 3, I want to complete the trilogy. I want to know what happens next. So now finally being able to have it, finally being able to play it, I'm excited. I don't know, hopefully this is enjoyable to somebody listening to me ramble about this stuff. Spy Fox and Cheese Chase was the only arcade, is what they call it, Spy Fox game I had. Enjoyable, not super enjoyable though. You could skip it. Racing, well, it's not really racing, kind of obstacle course game where you drive a bike around, avoiding things and shooting things and so on. Not bad at all though. Spy Fox and Hold Your Mustard I also haven't played. Arcade title, you fly around in a plane, blow stuff up. And, you know, their arcade titles are always good, but I'm more a fan of their point-and-click games. They're longer, they're more complex, and they have more character in them, but that's inherent because they're, you know, they have a story. They're not just, you know, quick arcade titles, but their arcade titles are fun as well, especially that puzzle game that I said for Freddi Fish. Was it Freddi Fish and Luther Kelp something or other? I forget what that was called. That puzzle game that I said with designable maps and everything that's like Pac-Man. Next is Jumpman. Jumpman is an old school PC game, one of Epic's early games, 1983, I think, 1984, and is basically an old school platforming game. Interesting, I don't know, I don't have much else to say. It wasn't on sale, but it's real cheap. If you're interested in that, I don't know. Get it? Don't get it? I don't know. RollerCoaster Tycoon Deluxe. Does anybody remember RollerCoaster Tycoon? If you do, please comment below and tell me about your memories with RollerCoaster Tycoon. I never got to play RollerCoaster Tycoon, but besides this being the deluxe version and coming with everything you need, everything you'd want, the expansions, everything, it's real cheap, right? Yeah, it's only $2.03. 3 cents, yeah, a little bit weird, but that's because they marked it off by 66%. The devil is at work. A little odd number there, but yeah, $2.03, quite cheap. Comes with all the expansions, everything you need. I never got to play RollerCoaster Tycoon, but RollerCoaster Tycoon, I think it was 3 or 4. Is there a 4th game? I don't know. I think it was 3, but anyways, I actually had, once again, my sister had, but it never worked for some reason. I don't know if it just didn't work on our PC or if the disc was scratched to heck and back. That happened to a lot of our old PC games because we're talking about 2 children that fought over what games to play on our grandmother's PC. Just Cause 2 I picked up. That's super cheap. This game's always super cheap, but if you haven't played the Just Cause games, give it a shot. Just Cause 3 is the only one I played, but Just Cause 2 is rated way better than Just Cause 3, and most people say that it's a better game, so as long as the game is just as good, if not better, which it must be from what everybody says, I'd say go ahead and pick up Just Cause 2. I mean, it's only $1.49. It's a big open world game that can take you forever to play, with online multiplayer and incredible amount of mods. Open world game where you wreak havoc, use a grappling hook and fly around a tropical environment, killing people and liberating a country. Putt-Putt Travels Through Time is the only Putt-Putt game I got here. I own a lot of the Putt-Putt games, but I didn't want to. This is the only one I wanted to double dip on because it was probably my favorite of the ones I played. The Putt-Putt series is probably some of the easiest, besides like the pure. The games that aren't point and click that Humongous Entertainment did aren't hard at all. But so besides those, Putt-Putt Travels Through Time is probably the easiest point and click that they did. But you know, Travels Through Time is still a lot of fun, and if you start getting hooked on these Humongous Entertainment games, play a few of the Putt-Putt games. The ones I'd really recommend, though, the main ones are Putt-Putt Travels Through Time and probably Putt-Putt Saves the Zoo. That song is amazing, too. Shout-outs to that song. I'm going to post it here on Discord after this. Oregon Trail Director's Cut is an interesting take on the Oregon Trail. I live in Oregon, so I got to learn my history. It's about the zombie apocalypse. You know, as we all know, after the settlers settled in Oregon, they didn't run into Native Americans. No, they ran into zombies. And this is the story of you know, one of the states. This is a story of the pioneers moving westward and fighting off zombies, like, you know, we all learned about in history class. A Call of Cthulhu, Dark Corner, and that's real cheap. You should check that out. Call of Cthulhu, Dark Corners of the Earth is a kind of highly regarded game centering around H.P. Lovecraft's world that he designed. And this game is super expensive on consoles. The only console it's available for, as far as I know, is original Xbox. So if you want to play it on PC because it's a lot cheaper, especially now. It's on sale for real cheap. And yes, I know the reviews talk about that it's hard to get running and all that. But as far as I know, there's fixes for it. So take this with a grain of salt. Don't go out and instantly get it. But if you're interested in the game at all, especially one of you here that has it on your wish list that is probably going to be listening to this, it's only $1.49 as opposed to $5, so you could always check that out. But be warned, yeah, as far as I know, it doesn't work right out the box. You're going to have to fix it, but this is really the only way to play it outside of spending $50 or $60 or whatever to get it on an original Xbox. So yeah, take that with what it will. And Data Defeat Source, finally, I picked up the game. It's super cheap. I got it for like $1.60, I think is what it was, something like that. And I get to play it with you guys. Interested in playing with you guys, interested in hearing what you guys have to say about what I had to say, interested in hearing you guys answer the daily question, and I hope this was enjoyable to someone because I rambled for way too long even though I tried to rush through this. Okay, aloha.